that the other person that's tweeting also says the girls are looking quite healthy for ladies that were abducted.
Well, not just the people that were tweeting. Lai Mohammed, on the CNN interview, also talked about
Minister of Information.
Yes, the federal government didn't, do anything about it because the girls were looking relaxed and not stressed. And that creates a lot of concern. That video, even if it is considered not to be true, let's even say that, our response to it, or the response of the federal government to that video, would communicate or should communicate how we hold this issue. When a government official comes out to say they are looking so chubby, then we shouldn't respond appropriately. Then
but we still need to bring them home.
But we still need to bring them home. Even if it is a lie, let's still do the needful. And then when we eventually find out that it is not true or it was concocted or something, then we communicate at that point that, oh, this video was released, this was the action we took, we found out that it wasn't true, and then there is a closure to it. Not for an international media house to do the thing that we are supposed to do. I also need to balance it by saying that I know it is a critical time in terms of security. We don't expect the federal government to come out and always be talking, because this is a sensitive issue. But when it comes to things like this, there should be proper assessment of what should we tell the public at this time regarding this, bearing in mind that this has gone public and that video isn't new.
Well, we saw one of the mothers yesterday, and that, for me, being a mother myself, it was heart-wrenching. And whoever had thought before now that there were no girls missing, listening to that woman, I'm sure they would change their mind. What?
See, this has happened for 2 years on. There's been several milestones. You remember that on January 14th, some of these, that's the only time we've had the largest contingent of the parents coming to Abuja to come and engage. And for me as a mother, you would literally see the pain of a mother and the pain of a father. When somebody is trying to wail and cry, and what they do is they lament, and they just, I watch a lot of those mothers, they would sit down and they're talking on their own. One mother said to us that she takes responsibility for the abduction of her child, because if she had not sent her child to school, her child wouldn't have been abducted. The sheer fact that a mother had to go through that thinking, it's a big thing for us as a nation. So, yes, but guess what? You cannot change the minds of people. Even if you bring the Chibok girls now, and you say, these are all the Chibok girls, those who will believe, those who will not believe, will believe. But we just do what we need to do.
If, right now, let's just say, by a stroke of miracle, the girls are brought back, what should be going forward the responsibility or the attitude of leadership? And when I say leadership here, advisedly, at all levels, to its citizenry, even in the face of a crisis.
If the Chibok girls have got back now, and the moment you said that, I just imagined that would be as soon as I walk out of this place. That would be like in the next 30 minutes or in the next 1 hour. Trying as much as possible not to break down. But, it would be another turning point for us as a nation. Should those girls be brought back now, as soon as possible? Because what that does is that we would then begin the conversation on, how did we even get to that point?
But why do we have to wait for that point to have that conversation?
But guess what? That conversation has started. Because the sheer fact that those girls were abducted, and we've had to commemorate different milestones, has brought us several things. And I'm particularly happy about what the Office of the Vice President did on the 13th. Bringing together people, several people who had ideas and thoughts as to how did we get here. Let me give you an example. The girl that was found in Cameroon, who said that she's one of the Chibok girls, guess what it got to for? Oh, how are we going to do identification and verification of these people? then that has become another action point on the table. The second thing is, during the last administration and then this administration, there's been several bringing back of several abductees that we did not even know were missing. In their tens, hundreds, and thousands. And then we're wondering, where were these people? Guess what that got to for? It got to for the issue of a national missing persons register. And that has become an action point. It was tabled before the vice president. That has been adopted. And the vice president has promised that this would be operationalized. Well, something will be done. And that's another issue. But most importantly is the issue of girl-child education. Education in the Northeast, you know, you need to go to that region, walk through that region, drive through it, and you see how a people can be so marginalized. A lot of them, you know, what we see here is a far cry from what is there. You know, the first time I went there, when I came back, I looked at the streets of Abuja and I thanked God for freedom, for the ability to move up and down. When I was there, a car was passing and the tire, you know, busted and boom, children, 3, 4, 5, ran helter-skelter. If my daughter hears that a tire get busted and then the thing, she's at most she will just cringe, but not. People ran, especially the young ones, ran helter-skelter because they thought it was bomb blast. Another one, going to internally displaced persons camps, you ask them, who wants to be a doctor? Nobody. Who wants to be a lawyer? None. Who wants to be an engineer? None. Teacher? None. Who wants to be a soldier? Everybody. Because there is a quest for vendetta. People want, these children have said, you know, somebody gave an example of a young child who wanted to collect one of the soldiers' gun and said that, just give me your gun, I know the person that killed my father. So this issue has brought to force several things. Psychologically, we went to Dakar sometime December of 2014, and my colleague was saying that he did not feel safe. Why? We didn't see roadblocks, we didn't see military. At the entrance to the hotel, nobody was checking us. And then, you know, he said he went to sleep and was like, what if? Do you know what has happened to us? You see somebody that wears hijab right now, you automatically think that this person is carrying a bomb. Yeah. You see somebody that bears a Muslim name or somebody that carries beards, and then you automatically think these are Boko Haram. So much has happened to us, and now we need to.
How can we work around that? Because besides, you've talked about psychology, the emotional trauma, what should we be doing in terms of conversations, actions? Yes, you've talked about what the president, the vice president said will be acted upon, but in terms of conversations that we're having to help parents, children to come out of that trauma, because this is a traumatic period.
Yes, yes.
How do we do that? Some of these children are in school. Do their teachers know what to say to them while they're in class? And now they've gone back to school, especially in Borno State and some other states. What should the teachers be saying to what do the teachers even know?
Thank you. I'll pick it from the second perspective and then come back to the first. Education for those children right now. Let's not forget that we are still in insurgency. We are not yet in that phase of post-insurgency. Because we can't say categorically that we are done with insurgency and then this context should be within the fact that, yes, we're still within this whole insurgency, but we are close to progress. We're making progress and we're close to the end. Bearing in mind that Boko Haram has been decimated, kudos to our military. Boko Haram no longer, you know, carry out those high-level attacks and all of that. So we've moved, but we are still within that context. Damboa that Damboa road has been opened, but guess what? A lot of military escorts still. So, but the question for us educationally, children are still in school. Should we still be using the curriculum that we use for the normal child in Abuja, Lagos, everywhere, for those children, bearing in mind that education right now should be seen from the context of psychosocial support, even though they are learning. That brings to fore the issue of having a curriculum that is for education in emergency situation, or in our context, in insurgency situation. So I think, you know, we're not prepared for this. So a lot of the things we are trying to learn within and take the actions that we should take. For instance, in the school, the kind of education that is offered to those children who are returning to school, who are in IDP camps and in other places, shouldn't be the typical education that we offer in other schools. Theirs should be laced with psychosocial help and support. And don't forget that because Boko Haram is against Western education, these are children who are now doubting the effectiveness or the usability of what they are doing.
And who also have parents who feel guilty about having sent their children to school.
And parents also who feel that sending children to school is now synonymous
with them being
being
abducted.
So we need to put all of this in proper context in moving forward. So I think that is in one area. But what do we do moving forward? I think there has to be coordination at two different levels. At the state level and at the non-state actors level. At the state level, let's not forget that there are three. Nigeria operates a federal system. So we have the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. Each of these three has roles to play in our moving forward. The legislative, for instance, we need to begin to look at our laws, our policies that have been in place in responding to issues like this. The judiciary, when we say a Boko Haram member has been caught, prosecute that person till the end so that we can all see it. Let them be no... The judiciary must not be a weak link in this whole thing. But most importantly is the executive. Our institutions, education, health, every institution, every agency or ministry has a role to play. That's in terms of actors. But for non-state actors, the civil society, faith-based, we have to now come together and ensure that there is coordination, even at the state actor level.
And this applies both federal, state, and local government?
Yes, sure. There has to be some form of coordination at those three levels, local, state, and federal, at that level. But even for us who are in the civil society, NGO, there has to be coordination at our own level as well. There are several people who are doing education, several people doing health, several people doing economic empowerment, several people doing basic necessities. We all now have to come together and say, what are you doing? What's the connection between what you are doing and what I am doing? How can we work together to make sure that at different levels we are all playing our role? But to think that this is just a government effort,
singular goal.
Thank you. But to think this is just a government effort, that would be foolhardy.
Thank you very much, Bukola Shonibare, strategic team member of the Brimbaka Girls Group. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Somewhere else will be back in a moment for another segment.